Hello everyone, welcome to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. So good to be spending the next 45-50 minutes with you. I hope you've had a great weekend wherever you are in the world. I had a good weekend. I went for a lovely walk with my wife Jodie. We walked along the edge of the Brisbane River and sort of walk past the site of a new building that's going to be constructed for the 2032 Olympics. That's right. The Olympics in 2032 will be in my home city of Brisbane, Australia. So that was exciting to get that. And so I had a really fun weekend, and fun's probably the wrong word, a restful weekend. And I hope you have had the same. Hello to all of you who are watching or listening to the show as a replay. So many of you listen to this show as a podcast, and so many of you are doing that after the show has been live. We do this show live every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But I know that sometimes that time, depending on where you are in the world, is not that convenient. So it's always good to know that you're able to grab a listen or a watch after the fact, because we always make the shows available for replay. In fact, I have been experimenting with some new video formats. You may have noticed, for those of you who are keen Voice Essentials subscribers, and I have been playing with the shorts version of here on YouTube, and I've even put some up onto Instagram. You can connect with me on Instagram under Dr. Dan Robinson, all lowercase, all no spaces. Anyway, I've been putting the less than 1 minute videos up onto Instagram, but I've also been putting them onto shorts. So if you're a person that watches the shorts version of the videos, that's hashtag shorts here on YouTube, keep an eye out for my little videos, and give them a thumbs up if you enjoy what you see. And I'm enjoying the experimentation around bringing you a slightly different format, very, very short format. It has to be less than 1 minute long to be recognized as a short, and it's in the vertical frame as opposed to the horizontal, where we're looking at, as you're watching the show now, it's 16 by 9, but when you go to shorts, it's 9 by 16, and so that's an interesting format. So playing around with a whole heap of different things. I'm even doing some replay grabs from our special guests, and I've already gone live with one of those with Marcy. Marcy was with us a number of weeks back, and I did a replay from her show, so I'm going to be doing that, hopefully doing those once a month. Exciting things. It's one of the challenges of this whole online space is it doesn't sit still. You got to keep moving with it, and so that's exciting. It causes me to be creative and keep bringing you the content around helping you to know more, because when you know more, you can sing more. And that's what we're aiming for here at Voice Essentials. I do not want you to become just a simple parrot. Dr. Dan said it, so it must be true, or I'm listening to Dr. Dan sing it, and so now I'm going to copy that. It's all about your understanding and comprehending the knowledge. When you know more, you can sing more. And that's what we do here at Voice Essentials, where everybody sings. We are going to do a Q&A today. Next week, just a heads up, and remember to always get notified about the live shows going live so you don't forget, because let's face it, life is busy, right? So that you're reminded by YouTube every week, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the white bell notification, because that will just remind you that that we're going live at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on a Monday. Next week, we have the wonderful Jess Baldwin's coming on to the show. She's been on the show before, but she's just released a new album, and what I want to talk with her about, and I think you're going to really enjoy this discussion, I want to talk with her about what she is doing with her new personal recording project. She's just released a new album, but she's also doing video clips with that, and it's going to be exciting to talk to a singing teacher. Jess Baldwin is a very highly respected singing teacher in the US, but someone who's also passionately engaged in her own creative projects. And I think you'll find that really insightful to hear, you know, a singing teacher who is also that working creative. And I'm looking forward to the discussion because I'm currently involved in a number of creative projects of my own musically that I'm really keen to be inspired by the discussion that we're going to have with her next week. And so, without further ado, let's get into our Q&A, which we will do straight after this. Okay, now jumping into our Q&A, and I've just thrown up a little note there from Linda because as you know, what we do here at Voice Essentials for the live show is we answer your questions during the Q&A. We answer them in essentially chronological order, that is when they first in, best dressed. But of course, if you add a super chat to your question, then we prioritize that super chat to make sure that your question gets answered, because we appreciate you giving some funds into the running of the channel, and that's what those super chat funds do. They all get channeled back into the running of the show. And for that reason, I am going to start off with Redmine's question, which was from 2 weeks ago. Redmine, I sincerely apologize. I missed answering your super chat question, and I only saw that listed in the Word document. Linda is so diligent in putting everything up for me. The show moves so quickly, I missed it. It was my bad. And so I want to answer Redmine's question first. We don't have it listed because it was from 2 weeks ago. But let me answer Redmine's question. Redmine asks, how can I learn twang? Every time I try it, it is always nasal and my voice gets constricted. One of the key reasons why your voice will be constricted when you're using twang will be, generally it's because it's being overly pressurized. There's too much air pressure. The key attribute of developing twang is a reduction of air pressure. And this is so important. You need to reduce your air pressure. It's a constant flow of air, but it's a reduced pressure, because with twang, there's a narrowing above the vocal folds into the laryngopharynx, and that's by virtue of a little muscle around the edge of the epiglottis called the aryepiglottic sphincter. These days, we just call it the twanger. And when we activate that twanger, then we get a narrowing above the vocal folds, and that narrowing, if there's too much pressure flowing through the vocal folds, that narrowing can cause an overt constriction. So backing the pressure off is the key ingredient to effectively working twang. Twang is not nasality. We go into this I've got a number of videos here on the channel about twang. Twang is not nasality. Unfortunately, there are still some teachers who want to teach twang. Let me rephrase that. I don't think it's unfortunate. It's just that I think it can be not without any malice. It can be slightly misleading when teachers teach twang around that sort of witchy, whiny, that sort of sound, because that to me is nasality. Right now, I am talking with twang. You can hear the twang in my voice because you can hear a clear, focused resonance within my tone. If I remove that clear, focused resonance, suddenly my sound loses that core focal presence and it just spreads out. I haven't changed my volume all I've done is changed my resonance shaping. And now when I put the twang back in, you can hear it has clarity. That is not nasality. Now, there is some nasal activity going on as I speak because I'm not actively trying to remove all of my sound flow and airflow from my nose, but I can make sure that I continue to have my twang through my mouth. Now, if I go nasal, you can hear that it's all nasality right there. That's nasality. That is not twang. That's nasality. Twang is a clear, focused resonance that we build into the sound primarily for efficiency. And the key efficiency of twang is in how little air it uses. It uses so little air pressure as to really build in some efficiency. And so we go right into this with the live the Voice Essentials online course and Voice Essentials 1. I really encourage you to check it out, Redmine, if you haven't already. Yeah, Redmine, I hope that answers your question because I was so disappointed in myself that I missed your super chat last week. Hopefully that makes up for it and we can move on. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got Mackenzie Kate's question. Mackenzie's asked, since I'm starting private voice lessons soon, is how to find the perfect voice teacher for me. Mackenzie, I do go into this in really clear step-by-step points on the channel in a couple of videos. Finding the right singing teacher for you, firstly, you've kind of got to start with some broad questions, and then you narrow down to, well, to the level of, narrowness that you need. The first thing you have to start off with is, what are you wanting to sing? Now, Mackenzie, knowing you as we do here at Voice Essentials, we know that you're passionate about your music theatre. So that would suggest to me that you're in search of a crossover teacher, more likely than not to be a music theatre specialist. If that is not able to be found, and because crossover specialists are still not a dime a dozen, it's hard to find them, especially in your local area, then you can come a little bit further out from that and go, do I want to do mostly classical music theatre or contemporary music theatre? So classical music theatre is going to be your Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, what else? Pirates of Penzance, Guys and Dolls. That's sort of legit music theatre. But if you go to we come to more modern times. So if you're doing Jesus Christ Superstar, if you're passionate about music theatre such as Wicked or my brain has gone blank there for a second. But anyway, you get my point, right? You're looking for more contemporary. So if you want the classical, then you go classical voice. If you want the contemporary, you must go the contemporary style voicing. Remembering, and I've said this so many times here on the channel, it's worth mentioning again, when we think about the difference between contemporary and classical, our first and foremost thought is to go to the repertoire, in part, a bit like I just did. But that's actually not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about what is the technique that is underwriting, underpinning that vocal. It is still true that, unfortunately, many singing teachers who teach contemporary repertoire, contemporary songs, are still servicing that voice, underwriting, developing classical technique. You want to go in search of a contemporary teacher who teaches contemporary technique but teaches contemporary repertoire alongside that. So, Mackenzie, I hope that's helpful. After you then have identified, that's what they teach, then it's just going to come down to you spending some time with them, and not 1 or 2 lessons. Spend 5, 8 lessons with them. you know, give the teacher some time to work you out, to really zone in on your voice, and for you to develop rapport, trust. Now, of course, sometimes a student and a teacher will know very quickly that they're not going to be the right fit. In 28 years of teaching, 27 this year I think it is, I can count on one hand the times where I've said to a student in the first or second lesson, I don't think I'm the right teacher for you. Sometimes that conversation has come after the fourth or fifth lesson. But, you know, that it can take time. And a good teacher is able to meld and mold themselves to you to ensure that you get the most out of your sessions. But not every teacher is built to be the perfect pick for you. And so, but you've got to give the teacher some time to really work with you and spend time with you, and see how you go from there. Of course, if they're getting you to do things with your voice that, you know, your voice is telling you, you know, categorically, this is not right, this is not working for me, then you can make the decision based off that. But, you know, anyone who's charging, you know, a reasonable dollar, and you do have to pay a reasonable dollar to be able to get quality singing lessons. Remember, it's the same in every aspect of life. You do get, excuse me, there's you do get what you pay for. And so, you know, be attentive. I mean, you can pay too much, but it's also just as easy to pay too little. Yeah. So, for example, a student told me just the other day, a new student said, you know, their first singing lessons was with someone who, you know, was charging $40, and they spent 2 hours together. Well, that tells me that the teacher is either undercharging or doesn't have a full handle yet on what they're doing, because they've just spent way too much, just from an educational standpoint, way too much time with the student, because the student won't remember 3/4 of what was said in that 2 hours. There's just too much that will have gone on. So, you know, just find and go from there. Hopefully that's helpful, Mackenzie. Now let's see. I saw a question here from David McCoy, and David is asking, I want to know how to improve my pitch and what are the right exercises to improve pitch accuracy. Pitch accuracy, and in fact, one of my very new shorts videos here on YouTube, I've called Perfect Pitch, and it's this literally a minute snippet where I talk about no human being is capable of 100% pitch accuracy. We know that, and so it is about, you know, increasing your hit to miss ratio, you know, refining that accuracy to a point where, you know, people, when you're singing live, hear you as singing in tune. And we definitely want that to be a part of our process. But it's more often than not, developing pitch accuracy comes a bit further, certainly the way I teach, comes a bit further down the learning pathway than you might otherwise expect. And that's because if you have, for example, if you're overdriving the air like we're talking about before, if you have poor body alignment, poor tension management, if you don't know how to manage the internals of your vocal tract from a resonance standpoint, these things will, no matter how good your ear to larynx management is, you know, singing in tune, all of the things I've just mentioned can drag your voice off pitch. And then what happens is you create this negative cycle where, okay, I'm singing ya, but actually that ya is actually ya because I'm tight, yeah? and I've got too much air pressure and I don't have a well-developed shape and space for my voice to travel through the vocal tract. And so we spend so much time trying to get our ear right that we don't realize that there are so many other things that are working against us in the same process. And so my encouragement to you is to, first of all, work on your body alignment. Then start to work on your placement. Start to work on your breath management. And once these things, tension management as another thing, once these things are starting to be taken care of, then you can start to work on your pitch accuracy, and you should in Voice Essentials 2. So we do a lot of groundwork in Voice Essentials 1, and we spend a lot of time workshopping all of those things I was just talking about so that we can start working on pitch accuracy more directly in Voice Essentials 2. And we do that using things like minor chords. We introduce pentatonic scales. There's a whole range of things that we do in Voice Essentials 2 to help refine your pitch accuracy. But that has to come after the groundwork is laid. And so just be careful in your development of your pitch accuracy, David, that you don't spend too much time in the initial stages worrying about being on perfect pitch, because what you could be doing is missing the big picture of body alignment, tension management, breath flow, placement, those sorts of things. Give that some thought, David, and let us know how you go. We're coming into, Kenneth has got a question here, which I've got to find. Here we go. Now, Kenneth has written here, I realize I can't sing in the morning. Is that normal? I tend to sound hoarse in the morning. So there's a couple of things that could be going on there. Yes, it's not unusual to find that your voice in the morning is less responsive than your voice at night. And that's because we do have a natural toning of our musculature throughout our body that happens as we're, going through our day. And I always say to students, particularly some of my young students who I might see early in the day, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., try to be up 2 to 3 hours before you place the voice under load, because if you get straight out of bed and come to your singing lesson, which, when I'm delivering online sessions can be done, when we do that, the voice won't feel great. No matter who you are, it just won't feel 100%, because it takes that time for your voice to naturally tone. Now, the next part of your question, Kenneth, is I tend to sound hoarse in the morning. So that could lead us to be asking the question around reflux. Are you experiencing some reflux during the night where you're lying, flat, is that horizontal, not vertical? I can't sleep standing. I can't sleep sitting up. Have you ever tried to sleep on a plane? I cannot do it. I'm so envious of people who can sleep sitting up. Anyway, so when you are horizontal and you're asleep, your stomach acids can actually, I just saw we're having Linda, just let me know in the chat that everything's okay. I just saw the stream flicker, the stream light, and which would suggest to me that things might have gone awry. Let me know that we're okay, would you please, Linda? So when you're horizontal, your stomach acids can flow up your esophagus and sort of inflame the rear of your throat, cause some inflammation around the vocal folds. That can lead to hoarseness. The other thing that can lead to hoarseness can be simple dehydration. If you're a mouth breather while you sleep and you're drying your whole system out, then that can be a problem, particularly during the winter months when you've got heaters and what have you on. So air conditioning can do that as well. So these are the sorts of things that we do need to monitor. And Linda's let me know there was some buffering. Yeah, I think there must have been an issue going on with the stream, but I think we're good to continue. Oh, I just saw a chat. Kenneth, I hope that's helpful, by the way. And I hope you can, monitor your own symptoms. Mackenzie's just thrown in a comment there saying, Dr. Dan, thank you for recommending voice therapy. I wonder if we can throw that. Here we go. Mackenzie's just put this lovely comment in here. Thank you for recommending voice therapy. It really worked. She said, because I'm a soprano, I was speaking more with my head voice, my CT muscles, that's the cricothyroid muscles, and she's been helping me work on that, which is great, Mackenzie. I'm so pleased that you're getting, really positive help with your voice. Very exciting. Now, Adam has just thrown in a super chat. Thank you, Adam, for that. All of the super chat dollars come back here into the channel and help me to run what can be a very expensive thing to do, but I'm passionate about this. So Adam's asking, my daughter, who is 10, is enjoying choir at school. She was invited to try out for choir at the con. She was asked if she has any AMEB certificates. What do you think would be a good place to start? Do you know what I'd be encouraging for you to do with a 10-year-old when it comes to AMEB? So everyone, those of us who are outside of Australia, AMEB is the Australian Musical Education Board. It's a private body that provides certification in a whole range of instruments: piano, voice, guitar, a whole range of other, cello, orchestral instruments, and they also do music theory certificates as well. And basically they're called grades here in Australia. Now, what I'd be encouraging, Adam, is for you to consider enrolling your daughter in piano lessons, because piano is such a wonderful skill for a young person to develop, due to the fact that not only are they creating some dexterity across a musical instrument, but a piano is so foundational in learning music theory, because a good teacher is going to teach the student how to read the notes, and so they're building their musical knowledge that way. And also they're learning an instrument that they'll then be able to accompany themselves on, which is fantastic. And you can really build up some great musical assets for the young person, your daughter, but it does take time. This is a slow burn. Voice is slow burn. Any instrument is slow burn. It takes time for you to develop these areas, these skills. And so I'd be wanting to get my daughter in as soon as I possibly could. I started all of my kids on piano from a very young age. 10 is not too old. Definitely not too old. In fact, you're never too old to start. But I'd encourage you to get her in there. Keep her in choir. Keep feeding her enjoyment and her enthusiasm around music. There are singing teachers who specialize in one-on-one lessons for young people. I am not one of those people. I do not teach young people until they're 16 years or over, basically grade 11 onwards. But there are some wonderful teachers who will really nurture their voice and their musical appreciation, and that's what I'd be encouraging you to do. And you can do AMEB certificates in both voice and in piano. So give that some thought, Adam. I hope that answers your question. to the degree that you were hoping I would. Okay, let's come back here to, I'm going to go, I've got to search for this one. So this is Joyful Noise. Joyful Noise. Joyful Ideas. Hi, Dr. Dan. Is it possible to hit high notes even if I'm a baritone? Because in some occasions I can sing Bon Jovi songs. Yeah, absolutely. Voice classification is not, or should not be a big, branding stamp on your forehead that then disallows you from exploring a range that sits outside of what would typically be called a baritone. I've got a brand new Find Your Voice classification video coming out maybe for the start of August. If not, it will be September. But I go into it in quite a bit of depth in this new video. I do have a voice types video already. In fact, it is my most watched video here on YouTube. I think we're up to 1.7 million views, which is very exciting. But I've done a new one just taking into account a lot of the feedback I received about the first one. And so I've done a brand new video. And so you might want to just check that out, Joyful Ideas. But the key thing to remember, is you are a unique voice. Voice classification is an important thing to know about yourself if you are singing in a choir, if you are working in, let's see, an ensemble, yeah, like a glee club, or you're wanting to audition for music theatre and they, write down what is your voice classification. You probably need to know that. But even then, it's important that you understand that these are generalized terms. We cannot take how many billion people are we up to now? 7.5 billion people on the planet and make, 6 voice classifications: soprano, mezzo, alto, tenor, baritone, bass, and fit us all into these 6 boxes. In fact, despite the fact that the German Fach system is used quite widely and very successfully within the classical arena, with its 29 voice classifications, even then, every voice has its own nuance. And it's so important that you are respectful of your own unique voice, to be careful enough to not want to restrict yourself to said parameters. Now, let me be really clear here. What I did not just say is you can be any voice you want to be. That's not what I just said. There are, I think, unfortunately, some very big YouTubers here on YouTube that will tell you that you can be any voice type that you want to be. You've just got to train. And I heard one particular YouTuber even reference the fact that when ones like myself, he didn't name me, but when singing teachers tell you you can't, that it's almost like we're peddling in fear. No, we're not. I'm not peddling in fear. Not that he wasn't directing at me, but my point being is, this is not about fear. This is about the reality of your human anatomy, and I've said it so many times. I am 5'8". I might desperately want to be 6'2". I don't actually, but let's just say I did. Nothing I can do can change the fact that my DNA, before I was born, dictated, learned to realize the full potential of my 5'8" and enjoy it for what it is. And so that's not peddling in fear. That's simply recognizing, anatomy, for what it is, biological instrument, the realities of the human experience. And so, yeah, delve deeply into your baritone sound. Delve deeply into your unique sound. Explore the extremes of your range. And if that takes you higher than your average baritone, that's exciting. If it takes you lower than your baritone average range, even better. Really look to develop your unique sound. I cannot, do you know what? I'll probably be saying this until the day I depart YouTube, which I don't know when will be, but I am going to keep saying this. You're a unique voice. Make the most of your unique sound. Okay, who have we got next here? Diana Huggins. So Diana, I'm going to look for your comment here. So stay tuned. Here we go, Diana. Diana is asking, just checking that that's not. We're saying that we're getting a bit of buffering. Mackenzie's saying we're getting a bit of buffering, but from what I can figure, we're all good. So we'll keep going, and Linda says she's good at her end. So we're going to keep going, everyone. Diana Huggins, I have a great singing voice, meaning when I am with my singing teacher. However, I have issues when singing in front of an audience or in front of strangers. Suddenly my voice becomes flat and I think Linda, we're not losing any content. It's all good. In front of strangers, suddenly my voice becomes flat. Diana, I would suggest performance anxiety is playing a role there. And that's okay. Where, performance anxiety is something that I think pretty much every person who wants to stand and sing in front of a live audience experiences to one degree or another. And in fact, learning to perform with that anxiety, so it's not even about eliminating or removing the anxiety, it's about learning to manage that anxiety, then that's a part of then being able to maintain your sense of energy on stage and keeping everything flowing really evenly and consistently. And so continue to do the work with your singing teacher. And it's great to hear that you've got a great singing voice. But just continue to look for opportunities to place yourself into those scenarios where performance anxiety needs to be managed. And then if you can, record those occasions, even if it is only on a smartphone, but record those performances so you can hear yourself back and make some assessments on what am I hearing? Where am I going flat? Is it when I'm going high, or is it when I'm going low? Is it when I'm getting loud, or is it when I'm getting softer? Make those assessments, and that will then give you some insights and help you develop strategies around developing your pitch accuracy for performance. You'd want to probably then take those same recordings and then go home, sing the same song, record it again, and look for any similarities. Are you in fact going flat when you're recording at home also? And it might not simply be the live performance that is causing you to go flat. It could be other issues. And so they're the sort of things that I'd be encouraging you to do, Diana, some ideas hopefully for you to work with. Gee, the questions are coming thick and fast now. We're only going to do one or two more questions. So if you absolutely must have your question answered, now is the time to use the super chat, because we're only going to get a couple more in. Where are we? We're going to go to Bradley's question. So Bradley is asking, should I sing with contemporary techniques or classical singing techniques to sing Il Divo songs, since the genre of music is classical crossover? Great question, Bradley. I'm going to lean towards classical, though it may well be. So, for example, me as an artist, I would be described as adult contemporary, which is sort of contemporary crossover. So I very much come at it from a contemporary part, contemporary standpoint. Whereas it may well be that you're coming at it from the classical end of things, and that's okay. We're kind of coming into that zone where, I might find myself at times singing in that zone of, crossover, where kind of both are going to serve. And so you can hear I'm casting a bet. I'm hedging my bets, Bradley. So I would think classical will not just suffice, will do the trick. But you might really find that finding a crossover teacher, someone who's really into the music theatre crossover stuff, that could be of great value to you. Otherwise, because Il Divo really do go for that very popular classical sound, and so I'm given to thinking that many of the things that you're going to want to present aesthetically are going to be more classical in their tone. So, but again, I think are we splitting hairs? Maybe it's worth you giving some thought and just seeing what's going to work best for you. How does your voice best respond? Anyway, that's a thought. I really feel like I've just hedged my bets, but I'm not trying to. I'm trying to recognize that you're kind of in that crossover zone where it could be either. Okay, one last question from Thomas, and this is a question about trans voice. So Thomas is asking, wouldn't trans women still be basses, baritones, and tenors? This is a highly specialized field, Thomas, and trans women, this is going to be quite challenging. Transgender women this will be quite challenging because typically a transgender woman will have generally, I'm trying to be really general in my comment here, more often than not, the voice will have gone through puberty at a point where the person may not have identified as male, but the body biologically was presenting as male and therefore went through, for the want of a better term, male puberty. In doing so, one of the reasons why there's a big difference between the male voice and the female voice is because the male voice during puberty grows to nearly 2.5 times its original prepubescent size. And it's in part that size difference between the adult male voice and the adult female voice that creates the change, the fact that the fundamental pitch of the male voice drops so dramatically compared to the female voice, because the female voice does not grow as much. It does grow, it does go through puberty and change through maturation, but that does not mean that you lost my train of thought. But anyway, coming back to the point of the fact that you've got this biological larynx that is big, you cannot reverse that. You can't shrink that larynx back to a female size larynx. So once that transition has taken place, that biological transition, that is set. It's one of the easier things, and I say that with a great sense of reserve. There's not a lot of easy stuff going on around, the transgender process, and so I say that with great respect. It is a little bit easier for transgender men to transition, because you can, through the taking of hormones, testosterone being the main one, for a transgender male, they can take hormones which can take the voice through a not dissimilar, almost a secondary puberty process, which causes the larynx to grow and gives them the deeper fundamental pitch that is more recognizable as male. For the transgender female, not so much. You can't go the opposite direction. And so this is where highly specialized speech pathologists typically are the first port of call, where we talk to the speech pathologist about how do I lift my fundamental pitch, and what spoken nuances do I need to build in an effeminate identity within the voice. You can tell this is why this is such a highly specialized field. We are here at Voice Essentials, we are an inclusive community, and I'm very, very supportive of our transgender community and the LGBTQI communities. But I stop short of calling myself an expert in this field. And so I would be encouraging you to talk to, the proper authorities around this area, if that's the journey that you need to take. Well, what an exciting Q&A that we've had today. It's been fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out. And I just love hanging out and answering your questions to the best of my ability. And I know that we had some buffering today. We got some feedback from a couple of you saying that there was some buffering. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you avoided the buffering. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Next week, we've got Jess Baldwin coming on. It is going to be inspirational. Next week's live show will be an inspiration to you and your creative journey as we listen to Jess tell us about the journey that she's currently on. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with her and with you next week. Hey, hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed today's show as much as I did, because I did. I had a good time. And I'm looking forward to spending the next show with you. Until then, have a great week. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.